YouTube. Why do you want to get paid by the hour in trucking? Well, I'll tell you, I've been over here in the gorge going through Tennessee, North Carolina. Everybody knows it's been down to how many lanes now, right? 2 lanes, one lane in each direction. And just depending on how the dice roll on any particular day, you could get caught out in this crap. I've moved about 3.5, 4 miles in the last hour and a half, and it's a real problem, right? It's a real problem. I had that truck right in front of me pass me on the shoulder as the lane was closing, right? Right lane was closing. I'm in the right lane, just traveling. I wasn't holding traffic back or anything like that. But he seen an opportunity to go on the shoulder, go around me. I won't tell you my opinion about the driver. I'll let you come up to that conclusion yourself. But he passed me. I let him in. I didn't speed up. I didn't play that game, right? I think those games are foolish out here. I think that's all predicated on false pride and ego, right? And there's no room for that out here, okay? Let's be clear. If you want to get your ego involved out on the road, you're going to end up in trouble. Not just a little bit, big trouble. And you'll be lucky if you don't get locked up and thrown in jail for some of that behavior that we've seen out here. But I let him get by, and then here he is, right? There he is. Congratulations, you raced on the shoulder. You look like an idiot. You got people on the CB, past a couple other people behind me. And you got people on the CB talking all kinds of, about that kind of behavior. And it's just, why? I'll tell you why. Because you're out here getting paid by the mile. And I do want to get into a little bit of specifics about, driving a bucket of bolts, pulling a dry van, right? Working Sunday, probably, out here fighting against the log, fighting against a low wage. And, in your mind, you're just like, I'm going to take every opportunity I can to improve my situation, regardless of who it impacts and what I look like or any of that going on out here, right? I am out here for me, and I could care less about anybody else and that's the type of behavior out here that has just, eroded this industry. Like, how else can I say it? I mean, it went from what it was to what it is. And somebody on the CB said, and hey, as prejudiced as it may sound, they said, those are the kind of guys that are causing accidents out here. They need to be shipped back to their country. And some of us would agree. Some of us may not agree. Who knows what country this person could be? American. I don't know. Could have full citizenship and all that. Just because you're American, how the hell are you? It doesn't mean that you're going to behave correctly. See all kinds of Americans out here behaving like children that have no coping mechanisms, no logical process, right? Like, where the fuck are you going? Why are you passing somebody on the shoulder in the gorge when you know what this is? You know what's going on here. Nobody's like, just, But, hey, you know what? It's not going to be me. At the end of the day, I get paid whether I'm sitting still doing this, picking my nose, picking my ass, eating a sandwich, drinking a coffee, It don't matter to me. I get paid the same. That's not to throw it in anyone's face. I say that because this whole industry needs to move to hourly pay. It needs a whole big push to hourly pay. Some of you may not agree. Some of you who are working on percentage as a company driver, maybe that's working for you. I mean, it's not always that there's a situation. Okay, let me say this. As a flatbed, as someone who does specialized flatbed where you're waiting on rigging crews, crane operators, you're doing oversized, over-dimensional, over-height, over-width, overweight. You're pulling into scale houses. You're having to show paperwork. You're at the scrutiny of the DOT. Like, those are jobs that should no doubt be paid by the hour. That's my opinion, right? I know a couple of people that have YouTube channels. I know a couple people that are in this industry that do not get paid by the hour. They're getting paid percentage, right? And that seems to be working for them. But I can tell you one thing for sure and two things for certain. When they are on downtime and they're not being paid, it's a problem. It's a big problem. And whether that means you're on a 3-axle RGN, a 5-axle, 6-axle heavy trailer, or there's things that go wrong, right? You're more susceptible to blown rubber. There's airbags that go, all kinds of stuff that happens, right? And when you're not being paid to do what the company should be paying you for, right? Because you know as well as I do, the company's like, well, you broke down, that's just an act of God, right? Or this type of shit where 2 hours later you've moved 10 miles and well, that's just the roll of the dice, right? But at the same time, it's like, well, why are you going to send me out there next week too? Or, and then you get frustrated. And when frustration starts to happen, like I said, all of a sudden people are driving on the shoulder, through the gorge, driving on the shoulder. Like, so what would have happened? Let's think about this a little bit for a second. What would have happened if I said, fuck you, and I sped up? And now he's on the shoulder, and then we come to a stop because there's nowhere for us to go. And now we're window to window, and we're looking at each other. He's a fucking asshole, but he's fucking butthurt now, right? He's butthurt, but I'm butthurt too because I'm saying, well, who the fuck do you think you are? What makes you so special, driver? Right? Now you're dealing with two grown men behaving like children. And then it escalates to what? The sky's the limit. Because I'll tell you what, right now, most men out here, right, that are, that have a fucking spine, right, they ain't going to back down. What do you want to do? How far do you want to take this? It goes from a traffic situation to somebody fucking being hurt. We've seen it 1,000 times out here. Right? Correct me if I'm wrong. People are getting shot and killed out here. Shot and killed. Morte. Dead. Done. Because of what? A traffic incident? Because you're so up in your feelings about where you think things should be and how blah, 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 and your expectations aren't being met, and you fucking have the social skills of a fucking prepubescent child that needs a fucking diaper changed. We got to do better out here, right? Because like I said, had he come up to somebody that's on his level, right, which I am not, I am a mature adult that handles things, I look at something like that and I just think like, poor bastard, I'll pray for you. You know what I mean? Like, because you obviously need prayer. If you're behaving like that out here, your head is completely up your ass, right? But if he meets somebody on his level, they ain't gonna budge. Are you fucking kidding me? If I let that guy in, that means I'm a pussy. That's how some people think out here. If I let that guy in, that means I'm weak. And I'm not gonna be fucking weak out here, you know? But that's all backwards, you know? If we actually start taking a look at the behaviors out here, you know, and we all start to make these changes in our own behaviors, and, you know, things will change that way, right? What I've seen happening out here is that people are stooping to other people's levels. Well, they threw a fucking piss jug out. What the fuck? Everyone else is doing it. Oh, there's garbage out on the thing. That's why that shit, that's what proliferates that kind of behavior. Right? Well, if you can't win, you know, if you can't beat them, might as well join them. Well, you let me know. Am I wrong or am I right? You know, look at, you know, we're not out here as truck drivers because we're like, you know, the smartest, the sharpest tools in the shed. You know, we're operating, some of us operate on like a Neanderthal type of behavior, mentality. I'm not saying everybody, and so don't get your fucking panties in a ruffle. If you're not like that, then don't be offended. But some of you who are, that would never let that person in. Oh, you think you're gonna pass me on the shoulder? You know, this is my time to show them how big my balls are. You want to have a pissing match? The one thing you don't want to do is get into a pissing match out here. You know what I mean? You got, you know, whatever payload, you know, truck and trailer, 60 to 80,000 pounds most of the time we're rolling around with here. You want to get into a pissing match with a fucking weapon? You want to start using your truck and trailers as weapons out here? Somebody's trying to pass you? Fucking let them pass you. Be the bigger person. Who gives a fuck? You know, and I know, and everybody else knows that somebody who passes you, you know, like that, they may show up 500 miles down the road 15 minutes before you. If that's so important to them, if that's what they need, then go ahead. You know, here, look at, there's the guy that passed me. There he is. Look at, there's nothing traffic-wise in front of him, right? He's just that kind of dude. He's not even in a fucking rush. He just wanted to assert his fucking dominance. There he is, driving a fucking 13-letter shit spreader that hasn't been washed in 3 years, okay? There it is. There's the kind of driver that's going to pull that shit. You see anything in front of him? No. He's not even doing the speed limit. But his ego, his bullshit, his nonsense told him, I gotta be first. I gotta be first. Me first. And then I get to behave like a fucking idiot, right? And, you know, those are the miserable cowards that are out here. Okay? Bottom line, miserable fucking cowards. And I personally am not going to prescribe to that kind of behavior out here. I am not going to meet fire with fire. Right? Have at her, driver. Hey, listen, you're the one who has to look at yourself every day in the mirror. You know, you decide what kind of person you want to be. I'll decide the kind of person I want to be, and you decide the person you want to be. And we'll see when it all shakes out, we'll see who's on top. Because I guarantee you the person who's behaving like this is not a winner at life. They don't win. You don't win with that shit. You know what I mean? And that's just from experience. I'm 50 years old. You know, there's times I've been out here where I've been frustrated and I've acted out my character defects. I've never passed anybody on the shoulder, but I've done shit that was like a fuck you, you know, fuck you type of stuff, right? And it's not fruitful, right? It doesn't have any value, really. Being the bigger person out here is always going to pay dividends. you know. And I would encourage each and every one of you who watch this video to behave in a manner that your family would be proud of. To behave in a manner that you would want your children to behave like, right? Be an example out here, you know? Don't be some fucking jagoff acting like king shit at Turd Island, you know? We're just fucking spokes on the almighty wheel out here. I've said it before and I'll say it again. We're not saving fucking lives out here. You know what I mean? We're not fucking delivering organs and blood, and you know, there's nobody that's in the back here that needs to get to a hospital. We're just moving freight. You know, half of us are delivering fucking shit paper. You know what I mean? Like, literally, it's not that important. And you know, I just like I said, I would encourage everybody to take a good look at their behavior out here, and let's try to turn this shit around. You know, a lot of us have a lot to say in the comment section on certain channels, on trucking channels on YouTube, about behaviors of some people. But what are we doing differently, right? And it's not about perfection, and I don't mean to sound preachy or anything like that. Maybe I am. If I am, I apologize. But I would really like, you know, all of us to, you know, do our part. You know what I mean? It's not too much to ask. If we want to turn this industry around, make it, you know, and make definitive changes, long-lasting changes, it starts with us. You know, and it's about being nicer to one another. You know, even if the next person you come across is a fucking complete dick, be nice. Like fucking those of you who remember the movie Roadhouse, right? Patrick Swayze, he's a bouncer, and he comes into the bar and he's talking to the other bouncers, and the bouncer's like, so what if somebody comes over here and, you know, they call my mama a cocksucker? I'm supposed to be nice? And Patrick Swayze says, asks him, well, is she? Right? And he says, I want you to be nice. Right? And so let's try to be nicer to each other out here. That's the message today, folks. Nothing but positivity. I'm coming through the tunnel here. I'm going to cut the string on this video and let it fly. Hope you're all having a great weekend. Hope you're making some money. Catch you on the next video. Driver's Lounge over and out.